is the British ambassador to the United States, Karen Pierce. Dame Karen, thank you so much for being with us. We've got a lot of news, and I know you're part of all this. You're briefed on the G7 talks in Tokyo that your foreign secretary, our Secretary of State, were at, as well as what's happening at the United Nations, where you served as the ambassador. So all of the above. So how hopeful is this regarding the hostages? Because there's still no breakthrough. There are talks with Qatar, we understand, but no breakthrough. But this at least would create a corridor or a pause for them to get out if there is an agreement on them.
I think the pause will be of most use for getting humanitarian supplies in and letting civilians leave of their own accord, those people who want to. And we've managed to get some British civilians out. I think for the hostages, Hamas ought to release them unconditionally. It's unconscionable that they took them. It's unconscionable that they hold them. But I think, from what I know, more talks will need to happen before we can have hostages released. But this is a very good sign. It shows that people are trying to protect civilians, shows the Israelis are acting in good faith with the civilians. Hopefully it will be a spur to getting hostages out.
At the G7 in Tokyo, where our foreign ministers were, there was, I am told, disagreement on the 3-day pause. And since they could not achieve unanimity on 3 days, it was agreed to issue the statement saying pauses, would be helpful. What is the British position on a 3-day pause?
I don't really want to put a figure on it because, 1 day, 3 days, 5 days, it's a very difficult thing to measure. It's very difficult to stop Hamas exploiting that for its own purposes. I think these pauses, daily 4-hour pauses from the Israelis, they're a good sign. They will let us get aid in. We've been sending airlifts via Egypt. They will help civilians leave.
Do you have British citizens who are still trying to get through the Rafah gate?
We've managed to get 150 out so far. I think there are a few more left who would like to leave. It hasn't been straightforward, as you can imagine, in the circumstances, but we have teams on the ground and in Egypt and in Jordan waiting to help British nationals.
One of the other issues that has come up are buffer zones, and I'm told the Palestinians are against them. They don't want to give up more land on the Strip. Israel isn't going to give up any land, but they wanted basically a demilitarized zone. What is your view of that? Would that even be possible?
I think it's one idea that would need to be studied carefully. There are a number of other ideas. I think it's a bit early to say what is going to be the idea that will work. Demilitarised zones, in all my experience, can be useful. They do carry certain problems in that you need both sides to respect them. And I know the UN is always concerned about anything that looks like a safe zone, because very sadly, they sound good, they sound sensible, but actually they can make people even more vulnerable, ironic as that is. So I think it's one of those things we need to sit down and work out what the day after looks like. I think the one thing we do know is that Hamas cannot stay in Gaza, in control of Gaza.
The US has had more airstrikes overnight against Iranian IRCG positions, warehouse supplies in Syria. So far, this has not deterred more than 40 strikes against U.S. positions, and a U.S. unarmed Reaper drone was shot down, apparently by Iranian-backed Houthi forces from Yemen. This is a steady tempo. Is the U.S. doing enough, or should there be more aggressive action taken? What do you...
Well, I think Lloyd Austin made clear this morning that it was a precision attack, and in that sense, I'd say it's proportionate. So I'd say the US have got this right. They're acting in self-defence. They're being proportionate. But messages have been sent to the region by our Prime Minister and our Foreign Secretary, as well as the President and Secretary Blinken, about no escalation, and we'll continue making those points.
And do you think Iran will hold off for now? You have diplomatic relations. We don't. How are you reading the Iranian leadership regarding what Hezbollah does?
I think it would be a very brave diplomat who tried to guess what Iran would do. So I won't do that. But we have talked to them. We are urging them and other regional partners not to let any of this escalate. We'll go on doing that. I think we need to keep a very close eye on what's happening in the region, not just in Israel, Gaza, crucial as that is.